And yet today, most golf fans cannot tell you his name. He is not forgotten because he failed. He is forgotten because he succeeded too completely, too suddenly, in a single week that he could never repeat. The bigger the victory, the faster the world moved on. So, what really happened to Rich Beem, and why did he disappear? Rich Beem was born in Phoenix, Arizona in 1970. He grew up in El Paso, Texas, in a house where golf was not a hobby, it was the family business. His father, Larry, was a PGA professional, later the head coach at New Mexico State University. For most kids, having a golf coach for a father sounds like an advantage. For Rich, it became something heavier. He was not chasing his own dream, he was carrying his father's. Every swing, every missed cut, every disappointing round on the mini tours felt like a verdict on whether he belonged in the family business at all. There was no dramatic conflict, no public falling out, just quiet pressure, the kind that builds slowly. By his early 20s, Beem had a college degree from New Mexico State, a famous father, and almost nothing to show for it on a golf course. He was not failing because he lacked talent. He was failing under the weight of expectations he never chose for himself. In 1995, Beem quit. He followed a girlfriend to Seattle, a relationship that would not last much longer than his patience for the mini tours. Golf had given him nothing but disappointment, so he walked away from it entirely. He took a job at Magnolia Hi-Fi, selling cell phones and car stereos for $7 an hour. He was, by his own account, good at very little of it. On his first day, the store ran a getting-to-know-you game with new staff. Each person shared 3 statements, 2 true and 1 false, and the rest of the group had to guess the lie. Beem offered 3 claims about himself: that he had lived overseas for 7 years, that he had a 6-year-old son, and that he used to be a professional golfer. The lie was the son. Not one person in a room of about 40 employees guessed correctly to every one of them. The golf career sounded far more unbelievable than a child he did not have. It is a small moment, but it says everything about where Beem stood at that point. A former college golfer, a head coach's son, reduced to a punchline in his own life story. Nobody in that room could picture him ever swinging a club competitively again, let alone winning anything. Beem lasted less than a year behind that sales counter. A former rival from back home won on the PGA Tour, and watching it happen on television did something to him. If a guy he used to compete against could make it, maybe he still had a shot. He went back to golf, working in a pro shop, grinding through mini tour events for little prize money. By late 1998, he decided to gamble everything on Q School, the brutal qualifying process that decides who earns a PGA Tour card. It is not one tournament, it is 3 separate stages spread across weeks, where one bad round can end the entire attempt. Beem made it through the first stage in 14th place. He barely survived the second. By the third and final stage, he needed something close to his best golf, and delivered it, closing with a round of 66 to secure his card. 14 rounds of stress-filled golf, just to earn the right to compete with the best players in the world. No fanfare, no headlines. Just a former phone salesman quietly fighting his way back into the only career he ever wanted. Beem's rookie season began quietly, just another new face trying to survive on tour. But behind the scenes, something far more colorful was unfolding than the typical buttoned-up story of a young professional finding his footing. His caddy that year was Steve Duplantis, a former bagman for Jim Furyk, known across the tour as one of the most confident, unfiltered characters inside the ropes. The two of them quickly became an odd, magnetic pairing. A shy, polite rookie from a golf coaching family, paired with a caddy who lived loud, talked louder, and treated every round like it deserved a little theater. Their partnership later became the subject of a best-selling book, one that painted life on tour as far less polished than fans usually imagined. That book opens at the Kemper Open in 1999, only Beem's 12th start as a professional on the morning of the final round. Beem was paired with a difficult opponent. And before they teed off, Duplantis pulled him aside with a blunt warning. Do not expect any friendliness out there today. And the only person he needed in his corner was standing right next to him with a bag on his shoulder. Before that final round, someone also spotted a bottle of Pepto-Bismol sitting in Beem's golf bag, a small, almost comic detail that captured exactly how nervous the rookie really was. He ended up handing the bottle to a television commentator complaining of an upset stomach, a strange little moment broadcast live to viewers across the country. None of the nerves showed once he started playing. Beem went on a tear early, draining birdie after birdie, from 45 feet, then 10 feet, then 25 feet, to build a 4-shot lead before most of the field had even settled into the round. Duplantis stayed close all day, talking him through every shot, occasionally patting his shoulder before key swings, keeping him steady with an experience Beem himself did not yet have. By the end of the day, the unlikely pair had pulled off something remarkable. A rookie with a colorful caddy, a stomach full of nerves, and a growing reputation for living a little wilder than most of his peers, had just won his first PGA Tour event in just his 12th start against a field of far more experienced players. It was proof that whatever was happening off the course had not cost him anything that mattered on it. After the Kemper Open, Beem's career did not explode the way a Hollywood script might suggest. For 3 years, he stayed on tour, made cuts, paid his bills, but never repeated that early magic. The rookie win started to look like an exception, not the beginning of something bigger. Then, in August 2002, everything shifted. Beem won the International, his second PGA Tour title, just 2 weeks before the PGA Championship. It was not a fluke. He arrived at Hazeltine National with arguably the best form of his entire career. Part of that came down to one small equipment change. Earlier that season, Beem had switched to a new club for the greens, an unusual-looking model with a center shaft and a heavy, bulbous head. It was not elegant. But finding the bottom of the cup had been the weakest part of his game for years, and suddenly, it was not. He walked into the year's final major no longer carrying the reputation of a former phone salesman chasing one good week. He was a 2-time winner that season, playing the best golf of his life, about to face the most dominant player in the sport. He had no idea how close that week would come to defining the rest of his career. Sunday at the PGA Championship in August 2002 became one of the most tense final rounds in major championship history. At 5'8" and barely 153 pounds, Beem looked nothing like the player built to outlast the most dominant force in golf down the stretch of a major. Tiger Woods was lurking, and prime-era Woods rarely stayed quiet for long. Beem struck first. On the par 5 7th hole, he made an eagle that pushed his advantage to 3 shots. For a moment, it looked like the gap might hold. It did not stay that way. Standing on the tee at the 15th hole, 5 shots behind, Woods turned to his caddy, Steve Williams, and made a promise. "Okay, Stevie, if we birdie in from here, we win this tournament." It sounded almost absurd. Then Woods went out and birdied all 4 remaining holes, posting 9 under for the tournament and forcing Beem to answer every single step of the way. Beem did not flinch. On the 16th hole, with Woods charging behind him, he sank a birdie from 35 feet that restored breathing room, stretching his lead back to 2 shots with 2 holes remaining. Then came the 18th tee. The entire tournament balanced on one swing. His caddy pulled out the driver, a club he rarely reached for in that spot, and handed it over with simple instructions. "Do me a favor, hit this thing as hard as you can." Beem did exactly that, striking one of the longest drives of the day straight down the fairway. The most feared golfer alive had thrown everything he had at him in the final stretch. A smaller, virtually unknown player 4 years removed from selling phones for a living had not given an inch. Beem reached the 18th green in 2 shots, with more than enough cushion to win the PGA Championship. After a closing bogey that did not matter, he raised both arms toward the sky. Then he did something nobody expected. Right there on the final green, in front of thousands of fans, Beem broke into an unplanned, slightly ridiculous victory dance, something he later described as pure, unscripted relief rather than anything planned for the cameras. "I probably looked like a total idiot out there, but I won," he said afterward. He had beaten Tiger Woods by one stroke at the height of Woods' dominance, in a year where Woods would go on to win 5 tournaments, including 2 majors. Even Woods himself, usually unshakable in defeat, offered respect afterward. He just trusted and believed in himself, and he got the job done. In the celebration that followed, reporters could not resist asking about his past. Beem did not dodge it. He talked openly about the years behind that sales counter, the life he had walked away from just a few years earlier. He later admitted he kept his old employee identification card from that job, a small reminder, in his words, that things could always be worse. By the time he made it to the bank, the checks from that summer, between the International and the PGA Championship, added up to nearly $2 million. He kept the deposit slip. Years later, he would say he still had it somewhere in his house, a small piece of paper marking the exact moment his life changed. For one Sunday in Minnesota, the former salesman had become a major champion, and the golf world could not stop talking about him. What almost nobody predicted was how quickly that conversation would fade. Here is the answer to the question. After that Sunday in Minnesota, Rich Beem never won another PGA Tour event again. Not the following year, not the year after that, not ever. By 2004, he failed to post a single top 25 finish, the first time that had happened to him in 6 full seasons on tour. There was no single bad decision behind it, no scandal, no obvious turning point. His game simply never returned to the level it reached for those few months in 2002. Then, in 2007, came an unexpected highlight. At the Nissan Open, live on television, Beem made a hole-in-one and won a brand new sports car as the prize. Without hesitation, he climbed straight onto the roof of the car to celebrate, inspired by fellow golfer Peter Jacobsen, who had pulled the same stunt years earlier. The clip later became part of a television commercial. Even without another trophy, Beem still knew how to make golf fans smile. The following year brought a harder moment. Steve Duplantis, the caddy who had guided him to that first win back in 1999, was struck and killed by a taxi in 2008. Beem learned the news in the middle of a tournament. He later reflected simply, "He was the first person who showed me the value of a good caddy." Then came a more physical setback. In 2010, Beem underwent surgery to repair damage in his spine at the C6 and C7 vertebrae. Doctors expected a 6-week recovery. Instead, complications kept him out for the rest of the season entirely. He returned in 2011 on a medical exemption, an arrangement that required him to earn a set amount of money within a limited number of events just to keep his tour status. He missed cut after cut before finally making one late in the year. By 2012, he made the cut in only 5 of 21 tournaments and lost his card for good. This is the part of the story that rarely gets told. Winning a major championship does not guarantee anything that follows it. Golf history is filled with players who had one extraordinary week and then spent years trying and failing to find that level again. Beem is one of the more honest examples because he never pretended otherwise. He was not destroyed by addiction, controversy, or a single catastrophic mistake. He simply ran into the same wall every athlete eventually faces, a body and a game that could not sustain its own peak forever. The real story of what happened to Rich Beem is not a tragedy. It is something far more common and far more human. Beem did not disappear. He simply changed rooms. Once it became clear his playing career had run its course, he made a phone call to an old friend, broadcaster Kelly Tillman, and asked if anyone needed an extra voice in the booth. That single conversation led to a job with the Golf Channel in 2013, and 2 years later, a full-time role with Sky Sports, where he remains a commentator and analyst today. Even as he stepped back from full-time competition, Beem stayed generous with what status he had left. He once gave up a sponsor's invitation to play in a tournament in Hong Kong so that another player, Ian Poulter, could keep his place on the European Tour instead. A quiet gesture that drew little attention at the time. He still plays in the PGA Championship most years, holding a lifetime exemption earned from that win at Hazeltine, the only major he never misses. In other tournaments, his own son, Michael, has occasionally carried his bag, including one memorable week where the two of them made the cut together. Everywhere else, he traded a golf bag for a microphone. Looking back on the broadcasting chapter of his life, Beem has called it one of the most rewarding things he has ever done. A second career that let him stay close to the game without the weekly pressure of needing a good score just to pay the bills. And when he reflects